That's her! She's the imposter! Shoot her! It's me, you idiot!
That sounds like Barbara.
Barbara, tell me where we first met.
All right, you little maggots. You're listening to the Gotham Chronicle podcast, powered by the BatmanUniverse.net. I'm Scarface, and here's my dummy, Josh. Yes, Mr. Scarface, and joining me is...
My name is Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle.
I'm just Jan.
Just Jan. And this week's episode is called Nothing Shocking. And do any of you want to do the little, fake recap? Because I don't know if I have one in me this morning.
Yeah. So we have 3 plots going on. The most pertinent one is that Bullock's former partner is suspected of moida because he was seen at Barbara Keene's club killing 2 of his former police associates. So Gordon Bullock investigate, and it turns out that there's another copycat. Clayface? No, not Clayface. It is Jane Cartwright, otherwise known and as revealed to be, pause for Jan's, gasp of shock, Jane Doe. And that's plot A. Plot B is Penguin and Riddler are tooling around getting their submarine ready when, sacre bleu, Mr. Penn returns with a suitcase. But what's inside that suitcase? Oh, it's nobody you've ever heard of, just the dummy Scarface, and it turns out that Penn was his ventriloquist all along, or at least when we didn't see him after he presumably died. So Robert Lord Taylor is constantly shocked throughout that subplot. And in plot C, we have Bruce and Alfred investigating in the sewers, people attacking other citizens of Gotham. And this was presumably their version of Killer Croc, right? Like, I'm not overthinking that.
They said in an interview that, they never got a chance to do Killer Croc, but they have someone that's kind of like him. It's not Killer Croc, but they said that, this was, the closest that they were going to be able to get.
Spirit of Killer Croc. Because that's what I was thinking was going to be in the sewer. And then it was just like a zombie, and I was like, oh, okay.
So they basically fight a giant guy who has sharp teeth. And it turns out that...
giant.
And it turns out that, at the end, Alfred was the one to insist that they go and investigate because he wants to make amends for the destruction of Wayne Manor. So those are
I felt bad that your house blew up, Mr. B, so I wanted us to go into the sewer and fight zombies.
Mr. B, does he not know his name?
Master B.
Master B. Master B.
He's not like Michael Goff from Michael Returns. Mr. Wayne. So those are our 3 plots for the episode. What do we think of them?
Well, one thing's for sure, nothing was shocking.
Jan, you seem pretty excited. So what do you think?
I think Jan was the most enthused of the 3 of us, for once.
I thought they were going to go, so they open up, and then there's the Scarface reveal, and I was like, yes! Because, they're throwing everybody in this last season, so every time I see a new lesser villain, I get excited. And then I saw them do Jane Doe, and that for me felt like it came right out of left field, but how they did it, to me, in my opinion, was really good. Especially since they were able to fudge it with the Indian Hill stuff. And then we got to the 3rd plot, and I was like, oh my god, they're going to the sewer! I know it's in there! And then it wasn't there, and then I was just like, oh well. Okay. This got 2 out of 3. And the Elton Johns. Was it Elton John?
What?
Was it 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
Meatloaf.
Was it Meatloaf?
Yeah. What do you mean, yeah, Donovan? That's not an Elton John song.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Meatloaf.
Oh, wow, that is Meatloaf. Okay. Yeah, so, Meatloaf song started playing in my head. And that was it. I really, 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 really liked the Jane Doe storyline. I can't even say how much. I just loved it so much. How they did it and everything. Although it really explains it takes out a lot of the technical aspects of how she does it in the comic books and makes it like more condensed and easier to apply to screens. So I can't even be upset about the whole chameleon thing.
Oh, you're talking about like the doubles, like the
like how she touched them and then turned into them.
Yeah.
Like
I
an
wasn't even
animorph.
mad. Yeah.
The young adult like scholastic novel of like this episode where like you flip the bottom of the pages and you see Jane Doe morph into Dixon Barbara Keene.
To learn Barbara, I must become Barbara.
Oh no, the Yerks.
High five.
I have no idea. I've never read that series. That was after my.
I read like one or two of them, but I listened to an episode of like where like Donovan and Harry were talking about apparently like the like series like ends like really darkly with like some of the kids dying, and like the author's like, yeah, it's war.
Stuck in the animal body, right?
Yeah, that was at the end of the first novel that one of them got stuck in their animal morph. But thanks for the pimpage, Josh. But it did remind me of that because like the way that like Jane Doe. Because I don't know in the comics. I think she's just like a. How does she do in the comics? Is she like a chameleon where she just puts on people's clothes?
She puts on their. She makes her body. She adjusts her body to fit the structure of whoever she's parodying, and then she also puts on like prosthetics to become them.
Right.
Like she's like really good at it. So, like I said, I couldn't expect them to have. The funding to give her up like that kind of lab where she's making up this sort of thing. So just having her shed her skin and all that made more sense to me. For the show itself and Indian Hill. I'm so glad that Indian Hill is just they're still using it instead of like, man, we're gonna make up some whole other thing from this whole other thing. And then use that, and we would have been sitting here like they could have just used Indian Hill.
Yeah, Indian Hill like just went from this like unexplained plot thread from season 1 to like now like the like how did you get this power? Oh, Hugo Strange in Indian Hill, and it's like oh well okay then.
See, Hugo Strange is the gift that keeps on giving.
He's in the background counting his money, dollar bills, y'all.
Well, I remember being so frustrated in season 1 because there's that episode where like the Maronis and the Falcones are like having this like meeting at like a dock and like they're trading land and like Penguin like whispers something to like Maroni or like Falcone or I don't remember whose side Penguin was on at that point because he switched so many times that season. It's like oh I want Indian Hill. You don't want Indian Hill. That's just an ancient Indian burial ground. Yes, but there's secrets there. And then, like, it was never addressed for the rest of season 1. And I was like, when are we going to find out about Indian Hill? And during one of the press things, like, they told me, don't worry, you'll see in season 2. And boy, did I ever.
Oh, my God, I wish I didn't find out.
In other news, BD Wong has signed on for Gotham.
Yeah. This episode, I have mixed feelings. To start off with, it's my least favorite one of the season so far. And I feel bad for saying that because this is one of the extra episodes. And like,
yeah, this is filmed after they finish the season, right?
This was filmed after like they did the series finale. After like, you know, like spoiler alert for the series finale, Bruce becomes Batman. Like, like
what? How dare you?
I said that really quickly because, like, I was like, if I don't finish the sentence fast, Jan thinks I'm gonna like actually spoil something. But
no, Gordon becomes
yeah,
Batman.
Like, surprise, surprise! I'm Batman in disguise.
Oh God.
Yeah, like this was because they wanted enough they wanted 100 episodes for like syndication and stuff, but they were only getting 98 and. They were fighting for like more episodes, like behind the scenes, like for most of the season. And as they were filming the like series finale, they got like the green light before they shut down production to do 2 more episodes. And this is one of those 2 more. But the problem is like this episode and the next one, they have to exist in like a very strange place because you can't advance the plot. You have to like leave everything like where you left it. You can't do anything major. So the solution to this was they kind of made these episodes like this episode, in my opinion, like it's a little bit of fan service, not only for the crew, but for like, the fans too. Like, okay, well, if we're going to, instead of just doing a random Falcone as a weak old man filler thing, let's bring back Dix from season 1 to tie into Harvey's backstory, which was cool, and do something that they didn't have a chance to do, like bring back Penn as the ventriloquist, which he actually approached like the producers about this like a while ago, like, and said, hey, if you want to make my character the ventriloquist, and he said that like he even has like the talent to be a ventriloquist, like that wasn't ADR or anything, that was like him doing it, and you could see his like his lips move like when he's doing Scarface, but that was still cool. So it's a little bit of fan servicey that way, but on the one hand too, like Riddler and Penguin are exactly where they were at the end of the episode, where they were at the beginning, and other stuff too. Like, the plot is not really advanced, but they can't advance the plot. But at the same time too, like, the only other solution would have been for them to have less episodes. So I'm glad that they had more episodes.
Change the timeline by time traveling, so everything's back where they were.
Just do a dream episode, like, or something where like or do another future episode, like they should have made the finale a 3-part. Well, never mind.
Well, I wanted to say that, like, just kind of giving my thoughts on this. So this reminded me in a way of Dragon Ball Z. Because, like...
You better explain yourself right now.
Okay, so like, my favorite...
We're like 5 episodes?
Yeah, exactly. So like my favorite storyline in Dragon Ball Z, if you've listened to the Next Dimension, is the Android/Cell Saga. And in that, there's a Super Saiyan from the future. He comes and warns them about killer robots. It's a ripoff of Terminator. So for 3 years, the characters train. And, in the manga and the timeline, it's like 5 episodes or whatever, but there is space for filler. So they can't show certain events happening. Like they don't actually show Vegeta becoming Super Saiyan or whatever. They just show the characters training. There is one famous episode where, as opposed to any plot advancement, Goku's wife Chi-Chi needles him to get a driver's license. And it's a pretty famous episode because it's pretty comedic and popular, but it doesn't have anything to do with the storyline. It's just, I'm tired of walking to the grocery store, get a driver's license so you can drive me around. And this kind of reminded me of that, where, like, it's fine, we brought back a season 1 tangent with the Spirit of the Goat. I wasn't, like, hating what I was seeing, but, like, it was very much like... It reminded me of episode 2 with Poison Ivy this season, where the No Man's Land thing is... I don't think it's even referenced. It's like, Bullock and Gordon, like, what's going on, Barbara? We're here to investigate this murder. It's like, surely there's something more interesting going on.
What do you mean it's not referenced? They reference it throughout the episode.
Do they? Well, I guess it is, like, when the bridge was blue, which is everyone talks about.
Like, Barbara's like, is it true that when No Man's Land, like, is, like, closed forever and Gotham opens back up, they're gonna arrest me? Oh, no. By the way, how do these handcuffs look on you? And then, like, Bullock, like, ever since the bridge is blue, I haven't checked on Dix. Like, I
suppose that's true. I guess in my mind, I was thinking about, like, him talking on the radio and then, like, talking about rations and, like, people getting food and stuff. That kind of thing in my mind. But, like, yeah. I guess it's true.
If they did that, I'm pretty sure you would have been like, God, we already know.
No, I wouldn't have.
They do say ever since the bridge is blue, like a lot of times this season,
every
like that's
episode.
become the new Falcone is a weak old man, or like J-Say baby.
But the thing is, like No Man's Land is a constant, so I get it. I take Dan's point, but I don't know if I would have complained that, like, they reference it because they did that in the comics. Every issue was that. My point is that, like, this did feel like this could have been in any season of Gotham, ultimately. But that's fine. I'm not saying it, for that reason it sucks. It was just an observation. Like, I wasn't offended by anything in this episode. I don't have really any connection to Jane Doe because that was a character that, like, was, to me, really familiar in, like, the late era. Like, I remember her popping up a lot when Dick Grayson was Batman and Damian was Robin. Well, he is still Robin, but, like, and that's fine. But, like, I'm much more of a Scarface fan.
She also popped up in the New 52, which is where I was introduced to her because I hadn't read the stuff before then.
She is, yeah.
She had a really good arc.
But what title is that?
With Bullock.
Well, you cut out what?
I think it was with Bullock too. I don't know if it was Detective Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was The Dark Knight. I think it was Detective Comics.
Maybe.
Look it up.
Because I remember all the Batman stuff.
She was also created by Dan Slott, who was like a Spider-Man writer that Donovan and I reviewed his books for many, many, many years on like another podcast.
But no, yeah, we could talk about the Scarface thing because that's a whole thing. I thought this episode was fine. I like it better than I do the second episode of this season. But like after the craziness of Bane, sort of. Or Proto Bane, or Shane West, and then like the whole thing with Jeremiah. This did kind of feel like a calmer episode in comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Scarface was like what was a fun thing to do with an extra episode, and I guess we can talk. We want to talk about Scarface first. That's like
sure
one of the shortest plots too, because I said before that like. I don't know if I said this when we were recording or before we started recording, but you could like sum up that Scarface plot in like 3 seconds. Like he shows up, he's like, I'm going to take over, I'm going to take the treasure and kill Penguin. And then Riddler like puts on like a sonic device, and then Penguin shoots Scarface and Riddler shoots.
What was that thing that Riddler did? I couldn't tell what that was about.
He put like a sonic device or like something like a noise device on that bothered Penn and Scarface, so Penguin was able to gain the upper hand.
Everyone knows that Scarface's greatest weakness is sonic vibrations.
Scarface looked good. Like I will give them that.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, and like I remember people on Reddit like saying last year, like they were like, "Is Penn gonna become the ventriloquist?" Because he does have that like Arnold Wrestler like look. And kind of like demeanor about him.
He looks and sounds just like him.
Yeah, so like I thought that was a little ridiculous because that was like at the same time people were like, is Martine going to become Emperor Penguin from this like random book? Is Penn going to become the ventriloquist? Is Jeremiah going to become Two-Face? Like there was like a whole.
Is Penguin going to become the Joker? Remember that?
That was also when is everyone going to become Harley Quinn? So I had like no time for this ventriloquist talk at the moment, but I like this, but like, for DC Universe, the app, I have to like write little summaries of Gotham on this like Friday, like weekly thing. And when I summed up the Scarface thing, like I struggled to like make it more than like 3 or 4 sentences. Because there really was nothing to that plot, but I think it was my favorite part of the episode, and I especially love Robin Lord Taylor and Corey Michael Smith's like reaction to when the puppet comes out and like the looks that they.
I've seen faces from Robin Lord Taylor in this episode that I've never seen in any other episode because he's just like so incredulous.
He's like, what? Like his eyes like bulged out of his head.
I'm surprised that they didn't go the Indian Hill route with like Penn. It's like, Penn, how did you survive? Well, and then he proceeds to not explain how he survived. He's like, I woke up and I found a puppet. like
no, he said he woke up, patched himself up, hid in a toy store, and then found the puppet.
But that still doesn't explain how he survived though. Like
he didn't die in the first place. That's the thing.
He was pretty dead.
He said he woke up in the morgue, though, so he was dead.
Yeah.
But not only was he like dead, like in the episode where he dies, like he clearly not only dies, but like his body was still in there when like Haven blew up. So he's like double dead.
Yeah, I think at this point, especially because they already finished the season, it's like who cares? I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes no sense, but like whatever.
Yeah, it's a fun. I hesitate to say plot hole because that word has lost all meaning because of some people on the internet. Like, but it's a fun plot inconvenience to make fun of. But I'm not like saying Gotham should be canceled because of it.
Because it's too late for that.
Yeah, we need to cancel Gotham. Did you see that massive plot hole? It's already canceled. We'll cancel it again.
Double cancel it. Forget that 6th season. That was going to be like a surprise cliffhanger.
Oh, God, if only. You guys would Dawn would die, but I'd be so happy. Considering how much I bitch about the show, I love it so much.
Oh,
very mixed.
Let me talk about this just real quick as a quick tangent. So, like, I was speaking at my former writing professor's class about comics journalism because he runs a comic culture class, which is an honors class, and we're talking about like journalism and the things I've talked about involving race and the history of comics and gender representation, and then in the middle of this is a college class, this is a university class, mind you. In the middle of all this, he says. So, because I gave an episode of Q&A to listen to, so he says, "Oh yeah, you and your what was your co-host's name?" I was like, "Harry." Yeah, Harry. You guys are really dogging on Gotham. I like Gotham, and I was stunned silent. And I was like, "Well, I mean, I have a problem with how they depict the citizens and stuff. And I certainly don't. I certainly like things about it." And then he was just like, "But Penguin and Riddler are so cool." So my commentary is forever useless.
So cool. Sometimes they're cool.
The side
they're ridiculous.
The side story was a good Nick Mobblepot shipper moment too, because at the end it's we're made for each other.
Yep.
Like that villain thing that they always use for them.
Yeah, the string thing.
And then they made out.
Over the dead puppet body.
They might as well, because it does end with them laughing maniacally as it often does. They could have done that. It's canon.
That girl on Twitter who I'm friends with, that's a big Martine fan. She had this theory that Penguin had the mute hench person because it reminded him of Martine. Which I'm
done. I'm done with that. Let's move on.
Well, I think in terms of the Scarface thing, I have mixed feelings because it's not Arnold Wesker, which is good because they killed him off. But it is to me, it is. Sorry?
He did call Arnold though on accident 3 times.
I think it was once, but yeah, they did
Arnold,
reference it.
Arthur.
Right. It's Penn, Arnold, Arthur.
Yeah, he did it 3 times.
I mean, I guess it's fine because it's not Arnold. It's not the classic ventriloquist, but they're still doing that. It's yes, Mr. Scarface. Because they've had other ventriloquists before. I'm remembering the woman ventriloquist that Paul Dini created, who wasn't like Arnold Wesker. It was a different kind of personality.
No, she was both that thing.
Well, I mean, there's also the one that Gail Simone created, which I hated. Which I think seriously did kind of hint at sexual whatever. But my point.
You could also theorize that now that Penn is dead, that Arnold Wesker that the puppets and rebuilds him and becomes the new ventriloquist. But I don't like that theory as much because Penn was Wesker through and through, just with a different name.
I mean, yeah, it is. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm complaining about. It's a little odd that a character who's just another. Honestly, it's just the Batwoman thing for you, Josh. Where it's there's Kathy Kane. She's also very much there's Kate Kane. She's just very much like Kathy Kane or whatever. We're if they're going to, I mean, they're not implying that Arnold Wesker is actually out there. They're referencing him, but if there's a possibility, like in the post Batman future that he'll show up, it's a freaking coincidence.
Yeah.
Just throw Penn into Slaughter Swamp.
Yeah, just make another Solomon Grundy, Solomon Pendy.
That was a bridge too far.
The actor is very big on Gotham fan Twitter stuff like he interacts with a lot of the fans on Twitter, so he's very involved with the community, and a lot of people are you lied to us, you said you were dead. He's I had to sign a contract, I had no choice, I had to make you all think I was dead. But he's been posting lots of behind the scenes pictures and talked about how this was his idea to come back and do it, and the producers accepted it. So I thought that was cool. He has an interview with another Gotham podcast called, I think they're called Gotham TV Podcast. I follow them on Twitter, and I've spoken to them a few times. I haven't had a chance to listen to the interview yet, but I've listened to some of their other interviews that have been good. They're based in the UK, and then they had to talk with him.
See.
Well, you interviewed him, right?
I interviewed him over the summer. for an article for Fansided where like it was just basically like a Gotham hype article. He's like, no one's safe. Anyone could die. He. Even me, because he dies in the 3rd episode. And
And again, in the 7th episode.
Yeah. He joined a very exclusive club called like Died Twice on Gotham.
Oh, it's true.
And you laughed at my comparison to Dragon Ball Z. Like several characters have died and come back to life.
Yeah. Butch,
Fish Moon,
Galavan, Jerome,
Fish.
Pen.
I know that there's more. I'll probably like remember more later.
Was Shane West dead when Jamie Murray showed up?
No, he was still breathing. They left him for dead.
Okay.
I don't really have that much else to say about that ventriloquist plot because it was very, very much like if you would have just spliced all that scenes together, like they never even like left that room.
Is it strange because it's like if you're going to do ventriloquist, then have them be like a actual, like seasoned threat. But then again, it's like but I was always complaining that they always threw the villains in there well before Batman was established, and then it wasn't him. So like I think this is the villain inclusion that broke me.
I gave up on the idea of this being a Batman prequel sometime in season 3. Like now when like a villain shows up that's like already around versus Batman, I'm like, okay, this is just another reality. This is not like a prequel in my eyes anymore, and it hasn't been for a few years.
They've gone full on Smallville where they're introducing like they might as well do Owlman, and Owlman would be like Thomas Wayne Gordon, and it would be like Gordon's doppelganger.
Get out! He just flies into the window and goes, GCPD! Literally all I'm picturing right now. And everyone's like, you're not even a cop.
Oh, God.
And like all he says is GCPD like a Pikachu.
And Ben McKenzie turns his head fully like around just like an owl does. Hoot.
Oh my gosh.
Bullock, it's my exact double, and he's so handsome.
God.
Did you see that picture where like Ben McKenzie and Marina Baccarin for like their kid's birthday party, they wore like adult diapers?
I did see that.
Yeah, send it to me. That I actually enjoyed it because I was like, if they tried to keep doing it, it would have just been like, I don't know. I like that they ended it before it went on too long, and we're just like, why are they still doing this? Because they do that with a lot of people. So the way like he just shot him, then I was just like, oh, good, this storyline is over. I wonder what's going to happen next episode, because it's the final season. They already jumped the shark when they had freaking Jerome have a secret twin brother who became the Joker. I mean, after that, anything you complain about, we've had 2 Jokers in this show. 2, not 1, 2. So when it comes to like villains and how they handle them, I don't care anymore. Especially since they just reamed Ra's al Ghul in the ass with Barbakine. So, yeah.
So you're saying that like it's cool that they appear, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to be done to the best of its quality.
I feel that the way that they did Scarface as like a psychological break after nearly like a near-death experience was awesome. Because he's been suppressing all. Basically, they two-faced him, and he pushed himself through a dummy. So, and then like later, you saw him become one with the other personality, and he realized that he was speaking for himself. So that was cool. Versus them actually trying to do an actual Scarface, which would have been sad, because then they would have actually killed Scarface.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Magpie thing, where it's like, oh, there's Magpie, oh, there's not. This is like a flashback.
They're killing lots of villains.
So annoying. Magpie isn't even like impactful, is she? Does she do anything?
She really
Or
isn't. Like,
is she like D-list?
she's D-list. Like, she really is like not. She's not one of the major characters. But at the same time, to me, it's like, oh, cool, another part of Batman's history, rogues gallery that we can imply the whole fight later on. Oh, never mind. He never even meets her. Like, I have a very like conflicting emotion from that because to me, it's like. Go ahead.
I'd never even heard of Magpie until like, what is it? What's her face? What is her name? Aaron Richards said that Barbara was supposed to be Magpie earlier.
In
which would have been really weird.
In post-Crisis, like when they were kind of, when they did kind of redid continuity and they showed Batman and Superman meet for the first time, Magpie is the character that, like, because I think that she comes from Gotham, then ends up in Metropolis. So, like, that's her biggest story. And they reference her later on. It's actually referenced in the Superman Batman Public Enemies movie that, like, whatever happened to her? She died. And, like, Superman's like, why don't the good villains always die?
They say she died, but then they forgot that she died because she showed up in a Batman storyline afterwards where, like, she's killed off again. Just like on Gotham, where people die twice. That was a really weird time period because they were killing lots of villains off like twice. Like they killed off
Scarface and Ventriloquist.
Yeah, they killed off Lynx and they forgot that they killed her off, so they killed her off again in like the same story. Yeah, and then the funny thing is,
hold on, was it like all the same writer or was it different writers writing the same storyline?
Different writers, and
they weren't communicating then.
No, that's comics. But the funny thing is, so like, there's a story. Lynx gets her head cut off. Like, she's dead. She is beheaded. And then, like, a Robin story opens up where, like, Robin finds her dead body with a head still attached. Like, oh no, a mysterious person just killed Lynx. And it's Cassandra Cain is the one that did it. And, like, a few years later, when they tried to explain, like, why Cassandra Cain was evil and, like, tie in all the continuity errors, they explained the whole Lynx thing with, like, a really stupid sentence where then they put Lynx through a mystical ceremony to bring her back to life just so they could kill her again.
What?
Where's it? I want to find that page. That page is famous. Like, what was it? It was like Batgirl something.
It's like a page of like Nightwing, like giving you like the entire history of Cassandra Cain. It is the most exposition-y page in like Batman history.
I gotta find that, yeah, because it's pretty damn bad.
But yeah, I do love that moment of like Penn as Scarface, like breaking down and then like switching to his Penn voice, like, you never respected me. And I love typical Oswald, just like not seeing the other point of view. He's like, remember all of our good times together? And it's like, shut up, dude, you're gonna make him more angry. Like, remember how we starved together? It's like, you gave your dog steak while Penn starved.
Yeah, and I like that he was so good at switching between like being Penn and Scarf. Like the switch was instantaneous. It was beautiful. Like just watching him was really good. There was immersion there. I was there and I was like, oh my god, this dummy looks so good. And then like his lips weren't moving most of the time his lips weren't moving. It was like the back of his throat. You could see him like frogging it.
You could see his neck.
Yeah. It was cool. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. I was geeking out like hardcore. I don't know.
That's awesome.
He pulled the dummy out of the box. Like he put the box down and I was like, hold on. This is not. And then he pulled the dummy out and I was like, ah! I screamed in the car. I was in the car.
Yeah, I thought that like
already
go ahead.
But I was screaming in the car.
Yeah, I thought that it had become public knowledge that like he by this point because they're pretty forward on Twitter. But you said that like you stayed off of that, so like that's cool. That was a surprise.
Oh yeah, see that was a weird thing because like Futon Critic, they left him off of the guest cast list, and usually they'll have like the complete guest cast even if it's a spoiler. Like they've revealed stuff with the guest cast list before that's like supposed to be spoilers, and then like the promo, he wasn't in the promo. But Fox releases like a bunch of images for like each episode as promotion, and they released a buttload of images of like Ventriloquist and Scarface. I was like, okay, I guess we're not going to make this like a surprise moment. But it was weird because it's like they promoted it in like one place, but like kept it a secret in the others.
I found the page. She had League Mystics restore Lynx, dead since the game war, then killed her again.
What even?
I know, right? So good.
I remember reviewing that comic for TVU. Like, that was...
Well, I think to talk about the plot, I think ultimately there's it's another version of these characters. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. To a hardcore fanboy who can do no right, it's a little weird. But like, it's not outside the realm of what they can do in this show. It just strikes me as odd sometimes, in terms of, like, the Magpie, ventriloquist. Honestly, Lynx would have been an interesting character they might have been able to use if they were bringing.
You would have been mad. You would have been like, "I'm quitting this show forever, Josh. They use Lynx."
You're right, but I mean, she was connected to like Edmund Dorrance.
Cassandra Cain as a love interest for Bruce. It's fine.
Oh, that I would have killed this show, all of you, and then myself. Well, they were supposed to, I mean, thank Christ they never got to Shiva, because they would have ruined her.
Yeah, look what they did to Ra's al Ghul.
Exactly.
Somebody posted on Kevin's wall the other day, like some picture of Alexander Siddig, and they were like, "I stan him so much," and like, and then I said, "Oh yeah, like he's always like one of my favorite interview moments, like, and I'll always respect the actor even though he was robbed as Roz." And they were like, "What do you mean I'm robbed as Roz?" And I was like, "Well."
Let me tell you about the character he was billed to play and the character he actually played.
And the character who killed him.
Done, Barbara. Do we want to talk about zombies in the sewer? Like, just to get that out of the way.
Yeah, no.
I actually really like that one too. Oh, that's what I wanted to say about this episode. I know it wasn't like a plot moving episode, but I did feel like it was definitely a character development episode, like a character study episode where you got to learn more about the characters. I really like those kind of episodes because you had you learn more about Mr. Penn-ish. You learned how he really felt. You learned about Bullock and how he started, and more about how he started. And then you learned, of course, there was more Bruce, and there was this actually not Bruce. It was Alfred who got development in this episode.
That part I thought, because the way it was going into it was like, Bruce was like, we should have called Gordon. He would have solved this problem lickety split. And like, no, Master Bruce, these people need to protect her. And he was like, "You're right." And I was like, this is good. What's really bothering you, Alfred? I feel bad about your house, Master Wayne. We're family. And I was like, what? It's okay. I'm glad you like this Jan, and I think it's good that like they do character building moments. I didn't like that because I felt it was like, is this really, you were getting closer to the end of the series and why Bruce would have to become Batman. And I did not get the sense that Alfred felt so bad about the house that it kind of felt like, I don't know. It didn't sit with me personally. I thought it was a better illustration of, Bruce becoming Batman rather than Alfred feels bad about the house. That plot line is solved in one sentence, but I don't know. It felt like his priorities were skewed. But feel free to disagree.
I don't know. I mean, I do like that Alfred does have some. It felt like when he said that, the shift focused to Alfred, who rarely ever gets like is the focal. Oh my God, who is ever rarely the focal point of a storyline? It's usually Bruce. So it was kind of like his turn to get some development versus Bruce, because he's always like the same person. And then in this, he didn't exactly like change. You get to see more of how he's dealing with things, how he deals with things. Because, he usually just buries it and he's like a badass. Like, "Oh yeah, you killed my friend. I punched you in the face." And you guys are so
You're
close.
a child.
Who killed his friend, dude? She killed him. It was a child who killed someone close.
It's still a child, and not only that,
I
but
would
like
punched her. I would have done
a
more
girl,
than
too.
her, dude.
I'm wondering if they should
Doesn't
have done that.
matter.
I think we talked about that on the podcast at the time.
I
It's like,
can't believe how horrified you guys are. This child killed somebody. Like, punching her is nothing.
she killed someone, but like he is the adult in the situation, and that is an underage girl. There is no good look of like a grown man with military training punching a homeless underage girl.
Just punching her. It's not like he grew up like Christmas pie, dude.
I wonder if they should have done that, because they put such a big deal on Selena's no killer. You know, this is not her. But like in season 1, like she's tossing people off the buildings, which I thought was in character for her. But at the same time, it's like if they're going to go over this whole Dark Selena idea, then they don't have a lot of room. Then because she's already done it. So I'm wondering if that was a mistake in the long run.
And the whole thing, like, she killed his, and I don't want to get into like a season 1 argument and like derail the entire episode, but like one point too is like this whole, well, that was Alfred's friend. That was Alfred's friend. The last time that Alfred had seen said friend, he stabbed Alfred in the gut.
Yeah,
with Alfred bleeding out, leaving him for dead. Like,
and yet he still cared about him. So that's a thing.
And the guy was gonna like, well, I not kill Bruce, but like put Bruce in danger once he sobered up by like, I'm gonna chill on you.
Can you do that again?
I'm gonna chill on you.
I know Josh likes to do that.
There are some like lines on this show that I'll never forget, like their delivery and their stuff. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be connected to another show like the same way.
I don't either. You put a lot of your life into this one.
Yeah, but like I was saying to Dawn on the phone the other day that like it's almost a good thing that it's ending now, because like I'm so busy with like all of the other work and articles that I have to do now that like it's this podcast is like getting like much harder to like keep up on like a weekly basis. So it's like, oh man, like I can't like maintain like Gotham the way that I used to. So like it's almost good that we're saying. I don't have that much to say about this Bruce plotline, because like it was like the least interesting plotline of the episode for me. I was very, man, it wasn't bad. It wasn't, oh my god, this is so stupid, or like why are they doing this? It's just I had no interest in the plot or like in Bruce doing a favor for this girl and like her family. Like I saw this episode twice and I'm still like, wait, so the girl wanted Bruce to find her family or something? Somebody on Twitter said like, why do people keep on going to this like teenage boy instead of the cops?
That's what I said. It was like, it's not like he's like adult Bruce Wayne with power. He's still, you know, visibly young.
Yeah, that part was confusing, but I was just like, whatever, it's Gotham. Why do people keep thinking that Jim Gordon is a hero?
Because he takes all the credit.
Do things.
He has saved the city, but he's also destroyed it too.
He hasn't done half the stuff people thank him for. That's what kills me. So I was like, whatever, it's Gotham. My question wasn't why are people going to this small boy? My question was like, where is he getting the hair gel to fluff his hair up that high? Like, do him and like the Penguin have an agreement?
Later on, there's an episode later on, and maybe it's like within like 2 episodes. His hair, to me, it's like I've never seen Bruce Wayne's hair stand so tall ever in my life.
He's Bart Simpson. Well, on Reddit, somebody said Barbara's showing how much time has passed, and then someone said Bruce's hair and Barbara's belly are in a race. Like, what?
They're not wrong. They are not wrong.
She found out she was pregnant the day after the procreation. Don't question the law.
Let me ask a question. I think in the first half of the season, they've been doing a decent job kind of showing Bruce's development. He's been a lot more proactive and stuff. You know, he's been carrying on a grappling hook, for God's sake, which is a little silly. You know, he's been wearing this trench coat. His visual evokes Batman in a way, and he had that kind of like, you know, Batman Nightmare. Was it last year?
Last year. Yeah, with Poison Ivy.
how do you think that's been maintained so far this season? I mean, do you see, like, does him becoming Batman? I don't know. I would like to. I wish they were a lot more. Him and Alfred basically fight a supervillain on their own. It's nothing to do with them. It's like it's nothing to do with Selina. It's nothing to do with the mystery of his parents. It's nothing to do with Indian Hill. It's totally them taking on something and being proactive to help save the city. And I thought that was this is a Bruce thing to do, but they ended up it being more Alfred. I don't know. I felt that it was so obvious to comment on Bruce's journey that I'm surprised they didn't. Did that strike anybody else as surprising?
Not especially.
Bruce has been really good this season, and he's basically just Batman, except everybody knows he's Batman, and then he doesn't have a suit. That's all it is.
People go to him for help.
Yeah, it was like, Bruce, come in. Just a second. I'm battling this grown-ass man who's trying to kill me. Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, basically.
This felt like a season 1 episode, and that, season 1, the characters were in, separate universes that would, never intersect.
Season 1 had
Bruce
a lot of
and
tangents.
Alfred, yeah, Bruce and Alfred are in their own reality that, doesn't interact with, the Gordon, Barbara, Jane Doe reality, and, Nigma and Oswald and Penn, they never even leave that room. It's Barbara's apartment from season 1 or something.
I mean, they probably just started destroying stuff. Do you know? Because they probably were low on money and low on sets and stuff by the time they finish everything.
It might be money because because I'm sure that Penguin and Riddler plot line was very cheap to put together. Most of the sets were still there. And I do know from production and stuff that I can't talk about too much, but I was able to see that the Siren set was still there after they filmed. The City Hall was still there. The JCPD was still there. The and also they film on location sometimes on random streets. And I'm not mad that they didn't leave that room. It's just it did remind me of one of the things that annoyed me about season 1, which is the characters being in their own universes that never connect.
I didn't feel they needed for this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we want to talk about Jane Doe, or do we have more to say about Bruce and not Killer Croc?
I was so sad about that. I was so sad. I was like, oh god, we're gonna see Killer Croc. I wonder how ridiculous he's gonna look. Random zombie. Oh.
That'd be funny if he had a Gator Golf mask on or something. He just looked as cheesy as possible. But it's played completely straight with Alfred and Bruce look, run, Alfred, he's so scary.
It's just it was just very disappointing. I don't know. I still like the story arc for what it was.
That's cool.
Because I don't feel like they can really move it any further than it already moved so far. Because he's already he's sneaking around like a ninja. They sent him onto the roof by himself in that one thing where Riddler was... They infiltrated the GCPD when Bane and his people were there. They sent him onto the roof by himself. They didn't send a professional, they sent a child. I always remember that. So, yeah, basically, he just feels like Batman. I'm just waiting for the finale, I guess. I'm just glad that they kind of gave Alfred a little bit of time, because he hasn't really gotten a lot of time this entire series.
They still need to connect Bruce with bats, though. So I'm waiting on them to do that. I whether it's a bat coming into his window, whether it's him falling down the well or whatever. That's not really been a thing at all, and that's fine for most of the series. It's more Gordon, but we're running out of episodes. That has to be an inspiration.
They could have used one of these 2 extra episodes for that, but oh well.
Thank you. At least they already did. They did the Zorro thing. They went back with that. That was nice.
That's a reference.
To give him the masked, what inspired him to put on the mask, sort of thing. I mean, they didn't say it explicitly, but it's implied.
Well, I mean, if we're going, are we about to Are you about to go on the Bullock thing?
Yeah, I'm ready for the Bullock thing.
Even that, I kind of like, because this episode probably has the most like interest in Bullock and kind of connecting it with his past. Like when his partner died, you saw him; it really affected him, and him. He clearly didn't want to shoot Jane Doe and stuff. I don't know. What did you think about it, Jan?
I really liked it, mostly because I liked the villain. But I really also liked, like I said, I liked how they went back to Indian Hill for her ability, because her doing like all the extensive research and all the prosthetics would have been, it would have taken episodes. But, or at least episodes, like at least a 5-minute soliloquy to explain a monologue. And
She couldn't like become Ann Richards in 2 seconds in a hallway.
yeah, exactly. But what happened with... I was actually pretty surprised to see the guy show up at the beginning and slit the other two guys' throats. I was like, oh, this is the guy from that episode. Oh, okay. That's the way to start an episode. And then we went back to the whole... They went in there, and yeah, it really did... The way that... When they went to his apartment, the way that Gordon broke it down, like he tried to shoot us, and there's a bag packed here, and everything. I was like, yeah, no, this all makes sense. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not this cut and dry, but this makes sense that he would sit here and he seems really guilty. And then what else was there? The whole Indian Hill thing where she was talking about how they basically sent her to jail or sent her to the asylum, and then she was experimented on, and how she talked about it was awesome, because that would definitely do like a mental break. And then like Bullock. See, here's the thing I really liked about it is where Bullock, when you first talked to Dix in was a Season of the Goat?
Spirit of the Goat.
Spirit of the Goat. When you first interact with him, he said you need to be careful with him. He's a good kid and he's a loose cannon. Basically, they said he was like Jim Gordon is supposed to be. And so this kind of gave you more of an insight onto how much like Gordon he was trying to be when he started. And then, of course, he has like a long career of regret because he just kept doing the same thing and he kept lying to himself, saying that it didn't bother him. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And Donald Logue is such a good actor. I could claw my face out.
Yes, he is. This is some of his best work.
Emotion that he put into that whole scene, and he's all like, let me see your face. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this face. There's nothing wrong with this face. They didn't even do like the whole fake red thing they did when Jerome got his face punched off. They didn't even do that. And then he, like, the look on his face when he saw that there was nothing wrong with her face was so good. Because then he realized it was all like everything was mental. And there was like, I think that's when he realized he couldn't do anything. Even though he tried.
Mm-hmm.
And then he shot her, and then he confessed. Oh, I really do love, like, did you want me to forgive you? And he's like, no, I just wanted you to know. And he walks out. That was so good.
I was about to do that.
Actually tarnish that scene with that music. That was a really good scene.
No, Bullock starts to walk out, and then like Jim takes another like sip of his whiskey, grabs him, and kisses him just like the end of episode 4 with Tim and Barbara.
I really like it.
And then like 2 episodes later, I'm pregnant, homeless cop.
She said not to ruin the scene, Josh. You didn't listen to her.
Listen, this rock was rolling down the hill. I couldn't make it roll back up.
You could have stopped walking.
You kicked it. He kicked it off the hill.
Maybe I did, but gravity took over from there.
Well, it was good while it lasted.
I like them bringing Dix back. That's like one of the things I liked about this episode. Because again, if you're gonna do extra 2 episodes where like you can't advance the plot, the best thing to do is like tie into old plots, like, you know, bring back old elements. That was I had completely like. I don't want to say forgotten about that character because I remembered he existed, but I had not like given him any thought in a long time. Like, oh yeah, there was that, and I like him and Bullock like when they're talking to each other, where is like, you know, were you okay if I say no? Will that make you feel bad? Yeah, well, I wasn't, and just I like that familiarity with each other, and I felt bad that he died and that Bullock, you know. That didn't get like that closure there. That was a little sad. I don't have too many, you know, other thoughts on Jane Doe, like in and of itself. I did think that it was funny that like a few times this season we've debated, well, what crimes has Barbara really committed? In this episode, she's like, oh yeah, we kill people and bury bodies all the time here at the Sirens Club. And I was like, well, there goes that argument.
Yeah.
And again, this is a filler last-minute
right?
episode, so this wasn't actually originally part of the canon, but now it is.
Yeah, I know, like, this wouldn't have even been canon, but, like, Bullock's like, you know we're cops. Like, you shouldn't be telling us this, right?
And she's like, do something. She's got a point. We can't do anything.
What do we do? You can't arrest her. I can't. She's carrying my child.
And there's more like, you know, like child support debate. Like, you know, do you really think you're going to be in this child's life? Do you really think you're going to be in this child's life? It's like, guys. This isn't going to be that hard.
Neither of you should be in this child's life.
Bullock should adopt, actually. Maybe not.
Shut
Bullock.
your
Maybe
mouth.
Alfred.
Shut your filthy whore mouth. Leave it alone.
I was gonna say Alfred, but he like made Bruce climb up a hill with a broken leg, so I don't know if there's any good parents in Gotham.
I don't know, man. There's always Penguin.
I was just about to say, what about Martine?
Well, Alvarez and Harper could adopt together.
Yeah,
no, Alvarez and Zaz. I ship it.
Dude, Zaz would be a great dad. Are you kidding me? He'd take that kid for ice cream, teach him how to, like, murder people. It'd be great.
Zalvarez. What do we say about that?
Zalvarez. I don't know.
Alvarazaz. My mind's breaking.
There's many jokes that can be made about, like, the, like, you know, which Barbara do I shoot scene, but
Including
to be safe, I must shoot them both. You don't have to, Jim. No, I must. It's the only way. I have a clean shot.
Here's an idea, Jim. How about you shoot them in the leg or like the foot or just like non-lethally? I never heard of non-lethal before.
What is non-lethal?
You mean in the eye?
It's what you do. It's how you shoot before you yell GCPD. That's what that
GCPD? What? Jim, I'm gonna name the baby Mario. What?
Did someone say GCPD? This show has a nervous tick with that character. This podcast.
I love when I love with the two Barbers though. It's like, shoot her, you idiot! And Bullock's like, that does sound like Barbara.
He wasn't wrong though. It did sound like Barbara.
Well, when he said,
and I think
how do we first meet? Both of them like they both didn't remember.
I was almost a little disappointed because I was like, "Ooh, let's get some backstory," because like we don't know like a lot about like their lives before like a certain moment. Just that like he met Barbara like out of the army and they got engaged. That's like all that we know.
Were they high school sweethearts? Wasn't that established in the show?
No. Bullock like basically like in like one of the first few episodes he talks about like Jim's romantic history. He's like, well, let's see, you probably had a high school sweetheart, then a few overseas girlfriends in the war, and then there was Barbara. He's like, you got me figured out. Or actually, he didn't talk like that yet then. He
visited her when she was 12 years old and he was in college. He was taking his college.
I'm still sad you never got to ask him about the smoking.
Oh. Gosh, I
Double
forgot
time.
all about that. I should have asked him at Pally. Oh, he'll be at MegaCon in May, and there might be.
You're a hoe and you hate me.
I forgot, and I was also operating on like 3 hours of sleep that day and stuff too.
No
but-
excuse, you peasant. Yeah, because like he was on like a talk show last night as we were recording this about, I think it was like Jimmy Kimmel or something. Like yes, Gotham, the final season.
Yeah. Anything else with like that Jane Doe plot? Dix, Barbara.
It sure was.
I did like when they mentioned Clayface because like
Yeah, me too.
and Jim's like, "Shut up! You know this is different."
It's different, and you know it. How do we know it's that different? Really? Because like I thought that was a healthy guess.
I don't know. Those were like very specific targets.
And I guess
then you could also see with the way that he was responding to it.
I guess the only person that we saw Basil Carlo become was Gordon and nobody else. So,
Penguin's dad.
Right.
That's right.
But like he needed like an ice cream machine to like do his things, and I don't think Gordon and friends ever found out about Penguin's dad. Like as far as they know, like Basil Carlo hasn't been seen since then.
My favorite part of this whole show is like the second half.
Basil or Basil?
My favorite part of the whole show is the second half of season 2, where it was just strange. Hugo Strange versus the world. That was so silly.
Back to watch that because I was so mad about how little it made sense. But now that I'm in season 4, season 2 looks like really good.
I remember Ben McKenzie telling Stella and I, like about like how he played like Clayface. He's like, well, as far as Clayface knows, the only time he ever saw Gordon was when Gordon was tied up in a chair yelling, "Strange, you son of a bitch!" So he thinks that Gordon
Ben
is just
McKenzie
a guy
doesn't
who
talk like
yells.
that.
Yeah, like he thinks that he's just a guy that yells and stuff all the time. So like, I want to watch that episode again. And like, I remember like before the interview, Stella's like, "I'm a year behind in Gotham. Show me like relevant clips." And we showed her that Clayface scene. So like,
She was like, "Got it."
She like slyly asked about that as if she'd been watching the whole. Ben McKenzie and Stella, by the way, went to the same college, just not at the same time.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So we're closer to finding out who Ben McKenzie really is.
Feel free to jump in because I got almost nothing else on this.
The last thing I'd say is that like obviously they're finished recording. The show is done. It's all over, but the airing. And we've mentioned that like these actors are starting getting other work elsewhere. Like I don't know. I don't think we actually mentioned this in the podcast, but like Harry and I, after we were messing around on Q&A, Ben McKenzie's going to be in some show about like the Bush administration's torture. I think it's like a movie about like investigating the Bush administration and like what Dick Cheney and stuff like this, which is ironic because all he does is torture on the show. Robert Long Taylor's going to be in the show on Netflix, which I think is already in its second season or about to be. Corey Michael Smith is going to be in a film, I think. So these guys are getting work, which is good to see.
Davi Mazouz is like taking time off to go to college because he wants to have a normal college experience. He said.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But like he might change his mind when he gets offered like some big role or whatever. Well, and speaking of moving on, like there's a GCPD extra member who like posts on Twitter, and she's been very, very salty about like the show ending, and she blames the CW, and like she posted yesterday on Twitter that Riverdale is getting a spinoff called like Katie Keene. It's basically like Archie's version of Millie the Model.
Really? Is this a new character?
Oh, no. It's Archie's version of Millie the Model. Like she's been around for like a long time. She's just like not like as prolific as like Sabrina the Teenage Witch or Cheryl Blossom. So that's it's going to be a spinoff of Riverdale, which oddly enough, like apparently they're filming it at Steiner Studios, where Gotham's like sets used to be. Like Gotham sets were destroyed like in December and like January, and
the
now,
filming
like,
of the Haven blowing up was them blowing up the actual sets.
Well, Haven was on location, but like and they're like building sets for Katie Keene there, which is weird because CW films almost all of their shows in Vancouver for like because of like tax breaks and stuff like that. Like Black Lightning is in Atlanta, but like almost everything else, like Supergirl, Flash, Legends, like that's all in Vancouver. But yeah, like, the whole moving on thing, like Gotham set is now being taken over by Katie Keene, and that was like, oh, they really are moving on. That's sad.
Interesting. I mean, like so Ravi Mazal says he's going to take a hiatus from acting. Is Karen Mikidova? She's pretty active online. Is she going to be doing anything?
Probably. I mean,
it's a very dedicated answer. Oh,
well, I don't.
What about Karen?
I'm looking through the live Reddit thread to see if there's any more like funny comments, and there's people are guessing Clayface like halfway through the episode. Like, is it Clayface? Killer Croc? Croc? Like
the whole Katie Keene thing looks like old Patsy.
Say what?
Like Patsy. Oh my god, I can't remember her last name.
Patsy Walker?
Isn't that kind of what she did? She was like a model and an actress, but also a superhero.
Yes.
Sex and the City for kids. Another Gossip Girl type thing.
I don't know if you know, but Patsy Walker is like one of my favorite characters ever.
I do know. I just
Reddit got to the part where Gordon says GCPD and they're having a ball. They said, the classic, and like they spell it out, GCPD. We got a GCPD.
I'm proud of Reddit for once.
Does that mean GCPD is going to become Harley Quinn?
Karen B. Godova, her Instagram has it has an image of Ann Richards in like the director's, or basically wearing like director's headphones. It's like, tomorrow's episode, as of this recording, is a special one because it's the last one for us to produce. It was written by Mr. Ben McKenzie and directed by Miss Ann Richards. It's a doozy, so you should watch it, which is interesting.
Bruce is going for the Steve Harrigan hairstyle. That was a guy in Stranger Things that had like giant hair.
Oh, okay.
He shot the pup.
All right. The actress for Echo is actually really pretty without all the makeup.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
All right, so that was nothing shot. Or does anyone have anything to add before I go?
No.
Okay, that was nothing shocking. Next week's episode is called
The Trial of
Jim Gordon. Order in the court. All right. After Gordon is shot in an attempt to establish a ceasefire, he hallucinates a trial for his life that could have deadly real consequences. Meanwhile, Ivy, guest star Peyton List, returns and puts her spell on Bruce, leaving Selena to defend herself. Lee has a life-changing moment as Barbara and Penguin consider their next moves in the trial of Jim Gordon. Guest cast list. There is some familiar faces here. Peyton List as Ivy Pepper. Kelsey Griffin as Harper. Anthony Kerrigan as Zaz. He's back for a victory lap. Victory lap.
See you around, Jim.
J.W. Cortez as Zaz's sweetheart. Detective Alvarez. Hunter Jones as Will Thomas, the boy who can't like sleep without breaking his arm.
The boy also
died. Wait, didn't he explode?
Well...
He's back, and he's the new ventriloquist.
I did explode, but I woke up in the morgue, and I patched myself up, and I found this.
Hey, they brought the badge. They brought the badge. He's supposed to be dad.
If the episode description says that most of this is Gordon's like hallucination trial dream, so keep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So is Mario coming back? Does he shoot him again?
I hope so.
Dream. A girl can dream.
Julian Gamble as Judge. So yeah, that is the next episode, and I have not seen the promo yet. Let's all.
Yeah, provide the link.
Yeah, the Gotham Chronicle podcast was filmed before a live studio audience. Yeah, it's like an upbeat sitcom version. Sit on it, meathead.
I'll make this short. Bye for time. Your call. Come together. Gotham will be what I decide. You have to snap out of Ivy's spell. Ivy's giving me a purpose.
Hot.
Or not.
Goats.
We stand legends.
I like it. It looks like it's good.
And this is 2 of 2 of the filler episodes, right?
This is 2 of 2, and this is the last one shot. And it's they spoiled the ending for this episode like back in December because everyone was like posting like the last shot of Gotham ever, and like the last shot is like a pivotal moment in this episode that like even though this is a filler,
I don't watch stuff.
The graves of Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle, Jim Gordon.
Yeah, like even though this is a filler episode, there is like a big status quo change that they like are able to sneak in there, and that like, well, if people are curious what it is, it's been spoiled, but there is a status quo change. But yeah, it's the last one, and then after that we have we have this episode, and then there's 4 more. Like we have 4 more, folks, 4 more.
Okay, there's this episode,
God.
the one after that, and then like...
We're not going to do this anymore, guys.
We can always make our own Gotham show.
I thought about doing Batwoman afterwards, but then like I got really, really busy with like my online writing work with like DC and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I can't do a weekly podcast anymore. And like CW shows are like 29 episode seasons, so like, yeah, maybe not. I mean, I am gonna watch Batwoman, but
I mean, honestly, if anyone wants to do The Boys with me,
what's The Boys?
I hate that comic. That's all you.
Actually, no one should do The Boys with me. We could haze so bad.
There's always Pennyworth, but that's like. I have zero interest in Pennyworth, the show.
And is that going to be like an ongoing several season show or a limited series? Please don't tell me
it's an ongoing show, but it's like I think like an 8 episode season or something like that.
What the hell is going to sit down and watch 10 years of Pennyworth?
You have a destiny, Alfred. You know, like says his dad, John Snyder. You know, like you were born to do great things. The like first season finale, he like picks up a tray for the first time, and it's like suspended music, like. But anyway, until next time, this is Josh.
This is Don.
This is Jen.
And this is 3 Barbara Keens. Shoot the real one or shoot them all. And you've been listening to the Gotham Chronicle podcast, filmed before a live studio audience.